He was a Labour MP for South Ayrshire in 1970 and worked to establish a Scottish Assembly. He was married to the great MSP Margaret MacDonald. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome onto the stage the wonderful Jim Sillars.
I don't care if you'll still be clapping after I'm finished. Today's event has been dedicated to Margaret MacDonald. In the speech I made at her memorial service, I said that on the 19th of April, 1943, a star was born, and that she was dusted with magic. On the 4th of April 2014, it appeared that that star had fallen from the earth to the earth. That's not quite true, because the things that Margot did, and from the thousands of letters and cards our family have received, it is evident that she inspired generations of people with the ambition to see Scotland a fairer place, a more equal place, based on the ability for us to exercise the power of independence. So Margot may no longer be with us physically, but there is no question in my mind that she will be part of us for a very long time to come, and she is certainly a part of this campaign. There were two things that Margot said I want to register with you. One was during a debate in Holyrood, where there were bickering between particularly the Labour Party and the SNP at almost a trivial level. And it was Margot who stood up and said, look, this isn't about trivia. This is about something that's big. This is about something that's important, that transcends this particular debate in the Holyrood Parliament today. The other thing I want to convey is what she said to a large number of people, to a Scottish population, particularly a working class population, who have believed that we're too poor and too small and have been taught that for a very long time. She said, you have to realise you are better than you think you are, because the working class people in Scotland have enormous talent, have enormous experience, but somehow or other have allowed themselves to be browbeaten into thinking that they're not fit to run their own country better than it is being run at the present time. So remember what Margot said. Think big. Right now there's a debate about how much it'll cost us to set up a Scottish government. I've never heard such nonsense. Of all the countries that have separated from London control, from Ireland in 1922, India in 1947, the Asian and African countries in the 1960s, we in Scotland are the best placed of all to have a smooth transition from devolution to full independence. We have a civil service, we have a parliament, we have an infrastructure of roads and rails and air, we have universities that are among the best in the world. All of that is at our disposal. Those countries had to create them. We have them. So the argument about the cost of setting up an independent Scotland is a trivial one. Even if it cost us £1 billion, it's a one-off payment. And if you spread that over the cost of 300 years, it's nothing whatsoever. It's a small one-off payment for us to take control of our own affairs and do for our people what we've been unable to do as part of the United Kingdom. They tell us that the adverts in the newspapers this week get the best of both worlds. Well, what they're offering for Holyrood is 40% control of the Scottish budget. Big deal. That means 60% controlled from south of the border. That's not a deal that any self-respecting nation would accept as one of the best of the both worlds. They've also, in that best of both worlds, said that we want to get the security and the strength of the United Kingdom around us. Well, first of all, the only reason we have security problems in Scotland is that we're part of the United Kingdom, which went to war illegally in Iraq. And as for the strength of the UK economy, they borrowed $100 billion this year because they can't make ends meet. We are heading towards a national debt of £1.5 trillion in 2017. And there's a figure that's disappeared out of the political agenda that everybody in the Yes campaign should bring back onto the agenda. The Labour Party isn't talking about it, neither the Tories nor the Lib Dems. The figure is £25 billion. £25 billion of cuts are going to fall on the public sector the day after the general election for Westminster in 2015. So how do we get the strength of the United Kingdom around our public services when you're 1.5 trillion in debt and talking about the first tranche of cuts at 25 billion? So let the Yes campaign, as well as punting what we can do in an independent Scotland, start talking about the reality. It's not a guess, it's a reality on their own figures of the state of the United Kingdom economy. There are two things that we have to bear in mind. First of all, the English/British Empire is in its final phases of decline. All empires go in that direction, and that one is no different. We are joined with a fading power. The question for us is, do we remain with that fading power and fade along with it, or do we escape from that fading power and build up a better society for ourselves and our children? That's one of the key questions. You've got to put it in its historical context. This isn't an accident that there's a movement towards Scottish independence. It follows as night follows day, that when that empire starts declining, people in it have to start thinking of where they go. Now, I don't believe that this is the best of all possible worlds that we live in within the United Kingdom. We have 250,000 children living in poverty in Scotland. This city of Glasgow has a third of the children living in poverty. In the city I live in, Edinburgh, which is one of the richest parts of our country, 50,000 families are living below the poverty line. 157,000 families do not have a home. We have payday loan investment taking place to feast upon the poverty of the poor. We've got food banks developing all over the place. You have to take your hat off to the folk who are running them. But it's a disgrace that they have to run food banks in our society at the present time. Yeah. We have, in the first time in my life, and I was a child who went through the austerity of the war years, the first time in my life, we have people who are destitute in Scotland because they've removed their benefits under sanction from the Department of Work and Pensions. Is that the kind of society we want our young people to grow up in, one that's grossly unfair. We have the opportunity in independence to reverse all that and create a society in which all of us can be proud and in which we actually do eradicate poverty for the first time. Think of this. Think of the energies that this nation of ours has had to expend over all the years in trying to defend ourselves. Defend ourselves against closures. Defend ourselves against rising unemployment. Defend ourselves against the poll tax. Defend ourselves against the bedroom tax. Think what it would be like if we don't need to defend ourselves against policies delivered from Westminster, but can use that national energy to build a better society. That's the difference that having the power of independence will in fact make to our people. Go out and tell folk this, that between 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. on the 18th of September, for the first time ever, the people of Scotland will be sovereign. We have our country literally in our hands with that small ballot paper during those 15 hours. We are sovereign then. 1 minute past 10 is the decisive time. If we voted no, we've thrown that sovereign power away. If we voted yes, those of us who have campaigned for a yes can go out and trumpet to the people that at long last our time has come.